going on, man? How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Good, man. Another day in paradise, South Carolina. My bipolar weather, 20, 21, 22, 28 degrees in the morning, and then we bump it off at a 62 degrees in the afternoon, so can't complain.
I'm in LA right now, and this is the first time it's rained in quite some time, so I'm not used to this. We're used to the baby, being spoiled with our baby weather, and today it was kicking my ass. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Very cool. So today I am joined by Gerry. Very cool dude. You have all kinds of great content. I think the first thing that caught my eye was just the attention to detail to a lot of your posts. Very nice coordination, just a lot of cool stuff. You're a part of TripleFeed, and you have to excuse me, what is the training program? I couldn't actually find the actual name of it, but you're a part of a firearm instructor as well.
Well, I do firearms instructing on the side for a lot of different things. One of it is I'm a post instructor through the state of California as a post-certified instructor for law enforcement, but I also do it on the side, one-on-one private classes. I also do some instructing with a few companies out of Nevada.
Cool.
And then on the side, I do it for myself.
Sure.
Others.
What's the so we're going to cover all kind of cool topics and get more into detail in just a moment. So we're going to get into him, the AK, the gunfighter, Mandalorian, big Star Wars guy too, right?
I am. I've been a Star Wars fan before it was cool to be a Star Wars fan.
before millennials took over, right? And so we'll cover that as well. TripleFeed as well, which is a cool little company. It's got is one of the things that you're a part of, and I think do you co-own it, or is it just something you're a part of?
I co-own it along with two of my really good friends cool. Out of Nevada.
Cool. And so we'll touch on that and kind of get into the meat and grind, and then also just little topics outside of that. But as always, I always started off with the icebreakers, get to know you a little bit better, break the ice a little bit. And here it is. And all right, cool. So with the icebreakers, it's always kind of cool getting like random topics and stuff like that to see kind of people's opinions on stuff. So how about this one, dude? What is your favorite candy?
Ooh, okay.
Or sweet.
My palate has changed quite often. I used to be a big chocolate guy growing up. I can't stand chocolate now. And I'm more of a, I guess, gummy or Laffy Taffy type of guy.
Yeah.
Gummy bears, gummy worms. You'll catch me popping those in during training. And then Laffy Taffies, if I could stick them in my satchels or my pouches or whatnot.
Very cool. So same thing. It's kind of an interesting thing. I kind of like you, I kind of bounce back and forth. So sometimes, I don't know, it's like just a mood thing. So sometimes I'll be like, but when I say chocolate, I think of like more like a Snicker bar or something like that. But so when I was doing some pretty big training, I tried to wane off of pre-workout, right? And some of the stuff that they have in that crap is bad for you. And then some are good, but regardless, there was one thing that I learned from one coach, and he was an advocate of Sour Patch Kids between lifts. Obviously you're not gouging, several Sour Patch Kids, but just that little bit of, sucrose, stuff like that right before you hit a lift, just to get a little bump, a little, booster. And man, so ever since then, I'm a Sour Patch Kid addict, dude. That's like, I'll just get kind of like a hankering for them, but I'm with you, dude. Definitely one of the gummies.
Were you talking about like Olympic lifting, powerlifting?
So I started off with more focus on more powerlifting. Yeah, the 3 compounds, basically a starting strength program. I pretty much kind of met my goals, and I was getting bored with doing that. So what I did was I started transitioning into more Olympic weightlifting. And that way I can still kind of stick with, some of the cores that I really enjoy, which was squatting. Squatting is like still my prime thing. Like that's my favorite. And just started kind of more transitioning to stuff that's more useful and kind of like everyday weights and stuff like that. Cause I was basically starting to, as one of the chiropractors, and then also one of the, I'm thinking what they're called, but yeah, physical therapist. I was at the gym, and they would do like, being at the membership, you would get kind of like a check and get like a deep tissue massage. And they were like, for your body and your size and your frame, you're lifting way too much weight for that size frame, and you're putting too much stress on your body. And, if you keep on going at this rate, you start compiling injuries and stuff like that. Long term, you're going to have some issues. And so I guess from right there, that's, I think, what kind of waned my interest in like lifting really heavy for powerlifting. And so I started focusing on more Olympic weightlifting and stuff like that. And I found something out. Transitioning from powerlifting to Olympic weightlifting is not fun. Not fun at all. So lots of mobility, like most of
I've tried it. Yeah, I've tried. It's funny you say Sour Patch Kids, because I think it's a staple in most powerlifters. In their diet. I know a lot. I used to powerlift a lot back in my younger days when my body wasn't falling apart. And no shit. Wait, am I allowed to curse? No shit. Everyone had bags of Sour Patch Kids in their duffel bags. It was the funniest thing ever. I thought I was just not part of the cool kids club, and then I come to find out that this is what powerlifters eat: is they fistfuls of Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, I mean, I would, being on a cut and stuff like that, I was always mindful of like taking in too much at the same time, and then also, funny enough, I used to have like hypo and hyperglycemia too, so like taking in a shit ton of sugar, and then, being on a really, really low body fat all at the same time, and then hitting a really heavy weight. It's like it's just asking for disaster if you eat too much of it, especially if you have caffeine, you're pumping, you just going through it. But yeah, so I learned that from one person actually told me about that. And I was a power lifter. And I don't know if have you ever heard of Spud Inc. before?
Yeah.
I will say he is more of an East Coast. He was a record holding power lifter for a while. Short dude, but man, just his squat was just insane. Like, it was just an incredible amount. And lo and behold, he's actually local to South Carolina, and he owns a couple little nutrition shops. And when I was starting off, this is kind of how I got into better form and like focusing on that. I actually just bumped into him randomly into the store. He was just working that day one morning, and I just came in to get like creatine or something, I can't remember, or Quest bars, who knows. And just chatting with him, had no idea who he was. And just, complaining about like, yeah, my squat's really bad. I can't get my squat up. And, to my, it's just so stupid to not even know that one of the biggest, powerlifting squat holders is right in front of me, and I'm chatting to him, like it's nothing. Super nice guy. And he's like, well, here, let's go over this real quick. Let's break down the form. And so I do like an air squat right in front of him, and he was like, no, that's terrible. He's sitting here like, correcting, garbage, and he's just like sitting there fixing and like, moving. He's like, okay, now this is where the bar, and dude's just so he's actually shorter than I am, which I'm like 5'8", but he's like 5'6", and I'm sure he probably lost an inch lifting, but his hands, he's got like ogre hands for his size, just a mongoloid. And like, he just grabs, it's like right under my shoulder blades. Like, this is where you need to have the bar at if you're doing a low bar squat. And that's kind of like what your body should be made for, because you're kind of like me. And so he just shoves his hand right where the bar should be on my shoulder, like, a little pocket on the shoulder blades, a little hook. And it was just like insane. So it's like, I focused on that, took his advice, and bam, it just started clicking. So ever since then, man. But yeah, I had a bunch of guys in my gym that were a part of his programming and stuff like that. Come to find out like a year or so later, and a lot of them did the Sour Patch Kids or gummy bears. And later on, my Olympic weightlifting gentleman I went with, who was a coach, more or less, he told me the same thing. He was like, yeah, he said, we don't use pre-workout here. No pre-workout is allowed in my gym, which I thought was funny. And he was like, no, nothing, but the only thing you can get is a Sour Patch Kids. And he had like 10 huge bags of Sour Patch Kids, like in like a stash, like for everyone to like, take a couple, 3 or 4. So ever since then, that's kind of been my thing, Dan.
Might have been sponsored by Sour Patch Kids, man.
What was that?
If he's pushing it that hard, if he's pushing Sour Patch Kids that hard, he might be sponsored by Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, he might be sponsored, dude. He might be sponsored. He's holding back then. He should have given me a bag or something, or like give me like little like stickers or something like that. I don't know, patch, Sour Patch patch. Cool, dude. Yeah. So funny, we just went on a little tirade on the first question, but hey, that's cool stuff, man. Cool stuff. So you're known as a gunslinger. You have on your profile gunslinger, stuff like that. Mandalorian, of course, he's a gunslinger as well. So it would be amiss of me not to ask, what was the worst gun purchase you've ever had?
Worst gun purchase I ever had.
Or your least
I'm a big Glock guy, and I picked up early in my law enforcement career a Glock 27, which is, I believe, a subcompact 40 cal. And I tell you what, the snappiest gun I've ever shot.
I hate that gun.
It's a Glock, yeah, I understand, but it is just snappier than hell. And my hands, I'm not a big man. I'm 5'9". I weigh 185, 190 when I'm eating a lot. But my hands are pretty big. I like to think that they're big enough to wrap around a gun. That gun was just like a floppy fish, just everywhere. I just didn't like it. I had to get rid of it. I got rid of it right away.
Yeah, so it's funny that you say that because similar thing. I, on the other hand, contrary, only one of us in this chat has big hands, and it's definitely not me. So I had one at one point. I was actually looking for a 26 because I sold a 26 that I got a good deal on. I was like, man, I want another 26, but I couldn't find one for the price I'd sold it for. Lo and behold, errors. And I saw 27s. So I was like, they're pretty cheap, like how bad could it be? If I don't like it, then I'll just sell it. And at the time I was pretty young. I was maybe 22. Got a 27, first time shooting it. I was like, this is the worst gun I've ever shot in my life. It is. I still to this day, I've actually shot another one thinking maybe, it's just one of those things where, novice shooter and stuff like that. Come back to it. Nope. Still hate it. I hate that gun. Yeah. I've had people ask me about it before, like, I see a bunch of 27s. Would you recommend it? Nope. I would never recommend a 27. I hate that gun. And you're right. It is a snappy little bastard.
It's snappy, yeah. The selling point for me was back then they didn't have single stack Glocks. They didn't have like your 43s or what's the other single stack Glock?
They have the
43s, the 42s.
What's that other one? There's that new one they just came out with.
43X.
They have the 43X, but they also 48.
So 48, yeah, 48. That's what it is. I'm a Glock guy, and I don't even remember my Glock models. And the selling point to me was you need an off-duty concealed gun, and you don't want to print. And if you wear really tight-fitting clothes, you're just going to be showcasing to the world that you have a gun. And I thought that makes sense. That's real logic. It was just it's not worth the concealability. It's not worth it. For me, I could conceal a full-duty handgun perfectly fine appendix and not print.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what am I wearing that day and how am I wearing it and ate pizza the night before. Those are the contributing factors for me.
Mm-hmm. Was the 26, was it one of those things where you had to use a 40 cal? Because I know the 40 has kind of started to dissipate, it seems like, in popularity along like law enforcement, stuff like that.
You'd be surprised. Some of the agencies that I'm familiar with, they're still issuing their new officers 22s, which is the full duty 40. And come to find out, they're still issuing it because they bought an excess amount back in the day at a relatively cheap price, lowest bidder, and they said, we'll buy them all. We'll buy your cachet, and now they can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
They can't pay people to carry them on duty. So I got issued a Glock 22 in my early days with LAPD, and then I jumped ships to another agency after a few years, and I got issued another Glock 22 with that agency. I don't carry a Glock 22. I thought it's asinine. It's just ridiculous to carry something like that. Can I shoot it 40 cal? Yeah, just as well as a 9. I'd rather not. Yeah. I struggle when you could have something that's a lot easier to shoot.
Mm-hmm. Interesting stuff. Do you still carry a 40, or have you guys transitioned to a new? Nope.
I've been carrying 9 for years now.
Yeah.
Like years and years. There's no reason for me to carry anything bigger. Caliber wise.
Right. Yeah.
Round count wise, yeah, I'm still,
Yes. It also seems like appendix is also kind of taken, like you said, the same reasoning when I got the 27 was, I think after I did that, my concealed weapons permit came in at the same time. And I was like, oh, I shouldn't have sold that because now I don't have a gun to conceal really well with. And 26 was that beast. And then, I ended up after I sold the 27, I ended up getting a 19 instead. And that kind of filled that role because I was using like a small little pinky extension anyways with the 27 and the 26. So I was like, well, I'm practically at a 19 now. So what's the point of having a 26? But story for another time. So I'm with you on that one. I think that actually might be my worst gun purchase as well. Was at 27. I hated it. It was a waste of time, and I definitely lost a little bit of money on that too. So, final question, of course. Now I know you're a Star Wars guy, but I'm going to switch to something else, and I think you're familiar with it as well. Lord of the Rings. What is your favorite Lord of the Rings character? I've been on a big Lord of the Rings kick recently with my buddies, so.
So it's been a hot minute since I've actually sat down and watched the trilogy or the prequels or anything Lord of the Rings related. But if I had to pick a character, I'm gonna stick with Frodo. Frodo's just he's always been the honest friend that you want to keep around, the one with a big heart, one that's willing to take a challenge. Even if it's by himself, the one that's afraid but still will continue to march forward regardless of how scared they are.
Mm-hmm.
And he has really nothing to try to show off. He just does. He's not there to boast or to show off or be a leader. He leads by example. And then to me, I really like Frodo. He's not like a king. He's not the best at anything. He's just a well-rounded hobbit.
Which I think kind of makes the character even kind of more interesting at the fact and the whole mission itself, because it's like when you expect a character, like someone to destroy what the material of that's basically the spawn of all evil, you would expect you'd give it to the strongest warrior or something like that, but they actually give it to just a random hobbit that's, able to basically carry the load and selfless and stuff like that. And even like, I think there was one scene, well, regardless of the videos of the book.
Well, let's backtrack a little bit. They didn't give it to him. He was the only one that rose his hand.
That's true. That's true.
I'll take it. I'll take that burden. And everybody else, nobody else wanted to do it until homeboy Frodo said, "I'll do it." Then everybody else started. I guess I'll go too.
I'll give him a hand. Yeah. So and then
I guess
and then I guess I'd also say Sam too, because even when they absolutely kind of like shunned in the face and stuff like that, later on and stuff like that, he still rises to the occasion, still, like you said, like being a sincere friend and leading into danger when it's, almost ultimate death. He still goes out of his way to help his friend, even though he's not acting correctly based on, emotions passed down from the ring. He still carries on and holds true to his word of helping his best friend get there. But regardless, very good stuff. That was a good answer, dude. That was better than like the typical, like I would imagine, like Aragorn or Legolas or Gimli or something like that. So very thoughtful answer from you. So let's go ahead and get into it. Again, this is Gerry from, what are you from, man? So you got all kinds of different stuff. You got TripleFeed, which is the one thing that I keep seeing the name wise. And I know you do your fire instructing and your handle's GerryPDKA. Is that kind of like your title, like when people refer to you or talk to you, or like, what is the official name, man? So who are you and what all do you do on top of that?
I'll start with my handle, I guess. Everyone, it's funny, whenever I've gone to SHOT Show or any kind of convention, or I've met somebody for the first time that knows me from online or whatnot, they always look at me and they go, "Hey, you're that GerryPDKA." Who the hell is PDKA? Well, P and then DKA, isn't that a word? I go, no, it's not a word. It's an abbreviation.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I'm not that type of guy that, because I'm into guns now, I'm not going to put, tactical Gerry, or I'm into fitness, or now I'm Gerry Fit, and I'm not into that. Like that doesn't define me. It's not me. I'm not going to change my name based off of a tactic or a gun or a style or anything. I'm just, that's my name, and Gerry's my name, obviously. My last name is P. It starts with a P. It's not P. It starts with a P. Sorry. And DKA. I've never actually said this to anybody outside of like really close friends. It's not a hidden secret or like a hidden acronym for anything. So I used to be an avid video gamer back in the day. Like back in my middle school, well, it all started with, Nintendo and game consoles from back in the 80s and 90s. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. And then it evolved into like online computer gaming and whatnot. I was a really big computer gaming nerd. I was big on computer gaming. PCs were my thing. And I used to be part of a online gaming clan. And DKA was it was their handle. And
gotcha, cool.
This was, I want to say I was 12 or 13 when I was accepted into a guild or a clan. We used to call them clans. Now, I think they're called guilds or whatnot.
Hey, man, I'm into all these games too, online. So I know all about them. So you don't have to tell me.
So to me, it was so cool. I'm like, hey, I'm part of a gaming clan. And their game clan initials were DKA. And DKA actually stands for Death Knights Alliance. And the leader of this clan was Santa Claus, but it was claws as in like, I'm gonna rip you apart with my claws. And he accepted me into the guild. I would log on every day after school and play with the guild for hours on end. Of course, I did my homework first, and I was a good little boy. And then I would log on and play all night. And then one day, out of the blue, Santa Claus stopped logging in.
Oh, man.
It was really strange. And we all took a vote, and I got voted as the leader of the clan.
Hey, there you go.
I'm like, oh, very cool. And then a week later, the whole clan just disbanded. I guess they didn't like my leadership.
Too much.
They just didn't like my leadership style.
That's pretty cool,
the
man.
name stuck with me. The initials DKA stuck with me, and I use it on pretty much all my handles. I think I have it on Parler or Parley now.
Mm-hmm.
I have it on IG. I use it in one of my personal emails. I don't use it obviously for my TripleFeed emails, but that my personal email is it has DKA on it as part of the handle. So it stuck with me, and to the point where my 10-year-old son now uses DKA. He goes, "Oh yeah, my handle online is going to be Sebas DKA." And I look at him, I go, "Where what? Like, where did you get this from?" He's like, "Yeah, like Daddy." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I'm cool with that." Very so the name DKA lives on.
Cool. You can tell me, maybe was it World of Warcraft?
No, it was actually, are you familiar with, I'm old, remember, I'm 36.
I'm not that much younger than you.
Do you remember Myth, Fallen Lords?
I bet if I saw the cover, I would know it. And I bet you my buddy does. And I'll aggravate him after this, but I'm sure he does. Because he was like you. So he may actually be maybe a year or two younger, but he was the same thing. Huge PC gamer. I kind of, gradually kind of came into it a little bit later. I guess about middle school. Same thing. Funny you said that about the whole clan thing. So I had a very similar circumstance. Really young, it's kind of interesting, without getting into that too much, because it's just completely has nothing to do with this, but I don't care. It's my podcast anyways. But it was actually Battlefield. It was one of the first Battlefield games. Modern. That wasn't. I'm trying to remember what it was. 1942. It wasn't 1942. It was modern day. Man, but they actually had classes. Like, you didn't actually build a class, like edit a class. It was actually you had actual roles and stuff like that.
Preset classes.
Right. So yeah, thank you. So I remember playing then, and same thing. I don't know. Like, one guy told me, he was like, "Hey, you seem like a good guy. You play objective and stuff like that, but you need to get your KD up." And this was the first time ever in my life that there was some kind of recollection of like kill death. Like, it was just always like, slaughterhouse, like just rolling through stuff. Didn't matter how many times you died, didn't matter. And then like from then on, it just kind of clicked. This was like, being 14 or 15, and I was logging on, it's just, thinking back on it, it's insane. But from then I literally gradually got my KD up from like a 0.6 to like a 2.0, and just gradually just got better at this game to the point where I was better than almost everyone that was in this clan. But they, ended up letting me in, and I had to, of course, change your name, same thing. I can't remember what it was. It was like, I think the lead guy was like Monster, and the other guy was like Terror, like typical stuff like that, and Mine ended up being Maximus Prime, like the Autobot, from Transformers, and that was it for a while. And of course, obviously some nerd already had that, so I had to actually, make it M4, X1, MU5, P21, M3. The fact I can say that out loud is just insane, but that had that one for a while. But yeah, dude, that kind of like lifted, because I still game a lot. I'm a big PC gamer now, so. But that kind of like changed my viewpoint on gaming, which is just kind of ironic with the clan stuff. So I just became, I don't know, it was like that like shifted a gear right then and there. And then I became ultra competitive in it and like started being very mindful of playing and stuff like that. But very cool stuff, man. Yeah. So yeah, I had, trying to think of the clan. I don't know. I've been through a couple different clans myself. Clans, guilds, like you said. Every game changes the name of it, depending on what you're playing on, Destiny, Modern Warfare, Siege, whatever it is, Halo, but cool stuff. Very cool stuff. So with that being said, we got your name down. Now we know who you are. But that being said, so you have the training courses, TripleFeed, United States Marine Corps, of course. Did you go to South Carolina any during that?
No, I went to North Carolina.
Okay.
I was in Lejeune for a year and a half, almost 2 years. With 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines. I was a POG, complete POG, attached to the infantry battalion. This was from 02 to 06.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to go through. I like going through it as a timeline. So
absolutely,
if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's get started. So tell us a little about
my current endeavor, I guess, is I still work as an executive protection officer for a private client. So I do a lot of EP work. That is my main bread and butter. My primary duties have evolved greatly over the last few years. I used to be a driver, security officer for the family. Then it turned into travel. Then it turned into advising and traveling. And then it became more of a residential thing for me. And because of my training and experience, for what it's worth, I guess, they created a new title for me. So now I'm actually the training coordinator, firearms instructor for the company. And I teach all in-house, predominantly concealed carry, because that's how we operate with the client. But we teach tactics, team communication, medical stuff, a lot of TCCC stuff. We've been getting into the long gun stuff, mostly because of California shotguns, but I do teach carbine outside of California a whole lot. So that's my main bread and butter. However, I have probably tons of other umbrellas that I'm utilizing and working under. So this goes into training now. So through the state of California, I'm a post instructor in California Post to teach carbine, shotgun, and handgun for law enforcement. So for any law enforcement agency, or for other police officers. And it's an incredible course through the state of California. I'm also a licensed to teach so in California, I think in all states, in order to be a security officer, you have to have credentials to be work in a security capacity. And more so if you're armed. It's not just, you can't just get hit up by your homie and say, hey, can you work security for me? Yeah, sure. That it's technically you need permits. So, and in California, you could just imagine how strict those permits can be, especially if you're operating with firearms. So I'm actually licensed to teach that in California as well. So I could teach people, or for what it's worth, teach, quote unquote, just get them signed off to be able to carry in an armed capacity,
qualified stuff,
to work in security. Yeah, to qualify. And then I also teach like one-on-one stuff a whole lot. I got hit up a lot for one-on-one training. Specifically, it usually falls under like Leo stuff, so law enforcement stuff. And if not that, then I actually have been getting hit up a lot by people that do like TV shows and movies, and they just kind of want to learn how to look functional when they're on screen.
Sure.
So kind of like an advising role / firearms, like how to manipulate a damn gun,
right?
And look credible when you're in front of
Yeah, in front of the camera and stuff.
In front of the camera.
Yeah.
So I do that on the side as well. So that's the firearms instruction side. I'm still law enforcement. I'm with a smaller agency now, no longer LAPD. So I am a cop, but I'm now a reserve officer, a level 1 reserve officer. So I'm not full time anymore. I just wouldn't have enough. You'd have to clone me 3-4 times in order for me to do everything full time. But I am still a level 1 reserve officer after 10 years of being active. But the difference is between being active and being a level 1 reserve. It's basically the same. I just don't get paid now.
Is it kind of like
don't get paid?
Is it kind of like a DLEO, like a deputy law enforcement officer? So if like,
so I'm still sworn, and I still have to keep my post certificate active. I donate at minimum 16 hours a month. However, I do way more than 16 hours a month. I just got off a 12-hour shift right now.
Right.
And, I had already done a few shifts this month. So I still go on patrol, trying to get on the training side with the department more so than anything. Mm-hmm. After working 10 years patrol, predominantly in South Central, I'm kind of burned out of patrol. I don't have to do it. If I don't have to be on patrol, then I won't. There's a lot of different things you can do for an agency, but now I'm doing it on a reserve level status after doing it for 10 years with LAPD. And then I guess the last thing is really TripleFeed. So, want me to even get into that yet? Or
yeah, well, so we'll start it off with so one question I have normally is, especially with firearms and stuff like that. Did you have an interest, or were you introduced to firearms prior to joining the Marine Corps, all of this, or was this something that was sparked, upon like a certain point?
First time I ever shot a weapon was when I was 18 in the Marine Corps.
There you go.
First time. Didn't touch a gun prior to that. My dad owned 2 guns. He never took them out. They were just for self-defense. Didn't even have them loaded. Mm-hmm. He had them in the house hidden somewhere. He might as well have had a paperweight in the house. He just didn't even know how to use a firearm. Yeah. My interest for firearms training didn't start until actually after the military. So military time, the only time you really, unless you're in a line company or in a specialized unit or a soft unit or something, being a pogue like I was, even though I was attached to an infantry battalion, we don't do a lot of firearms training. You do your quals, you do pre-workups prior to deployments. But being what my MOS was, I really didn't shoot a lot of guns. My firearms passion didn't grow until about a year or 2 into my law enforcement career. And what sparked it was a lack of knowledge training that law enforcement officers have. It's just, and it pains me to say this because I love all my blue family. It pains me to say this, but law enforcement officers are some of the worst trained people when it comes to firearms. And it's not their fault. No. It really isn't their fault. It's the department's fault. The department just does not want to
spend the money,
train them and spend the money. They'd rather use the money for something ridiculous, passing out baseball cards or, citing people or getting more citations or something. But the lack of training is what sparked me to go out and seek it myself. Absolutely. And that's what I did. I started spending my own money on training on guns. I started researching shit. I started on YouTube, and it just grew from there.
Absolutely. So I'm sure you haven't, but there was an episode a podcast I did. It was much earlier on with a gentleman named Adam from Effective Fitness. Now he does the same, very similar, parallel. His focus, he is former law enforcement as well, but his focus is not basically the firearms in the actual, shooting in instruction part, but his is more of the physical side. So he is a part of Effective Fitness. And one of the things he said was parallel to what you just said, identical to what you just said. Very similar issues that he witnesses. And then, lots of guys and either like long-term, bad physical injuries and stuff like that, more or less because the agency didn't help them promote a better health or promote, good exercise or, anything along those lines as well in the line of duty and stuff like that, and keeping them in good shape so they can perform at 100% instead of, eating poorly, not being well trained, running on E all the time, et cetera, et cetera. And like you said, them just not wanting to spend the money on, getting these guys trained up to be ready for the job is just a huge issue. And then is what happens is the guys who do want to go above and beyond end up having to spend their own money. And of course, I think everyone knows that law enforcement, it's not like they're getting paid thousands upon thousands of dollars. So that's a strict budget you have to find. And, training isn't cheap either. So neither is quality gear. So that's, it's interesting that you say that as well.
It's, you would think that being in a line of work where you carry a firearm or you carry a deadly weapon, you carry something to either defend yourself or others, that your mindset, your mind, the way your body reacts to things, your fitness level, can be the difference between life and death. And people just don't go out and seek out their own training or their own health. Again, I do blame the individual officer to some extent, but lack of resources that the individual departments put out, it's subpar. It really is. It's really horrible. And they don't, for instance, in the military, at minimum in the military, they have fitness standards, right? Every quarter, I believe, if my memory serves me right, you have to take a physical fitness test. And the scary part is if you don't pass the test, you could actually get kicked out dishonorably from the military. There comes a point where if you fail enough, you could get discharged for lack of fitness. And in law enforcement, you would assume or you would think that maybe we should have the same fitness, at least to some degree, some fitness standards. But there isn't. It's actually against the law to do something like that. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Now, in certain individual units, like specialized units, they could have fitness standards because they could articulate why they need those fitness standards for those jobs. But because it falls under, union laws and labor laws and whatnot, they can't have those fitness standards. And I'll be honest with you, that there's been plenty of times in my life after an 18-hour shift and going to court and dealing with, lack of a better term, the scum of the world.
Oh, sure.
You get home and you do not want to fucking work out. I've been there where I'm tired, I'm hurt, I've gone through back surgery, I've blown out my knees, I've done all sorts of shit, and the last thing I want to do,
exercise,
fucking work out.
Yeah,
it's fucking exercise and eat. And what's open at midnight, man? What's open at midnight when you're working graves? I mean, you can't. I have meal prepping. I mean, it just doesn't. Yeah. It's really difficult on the body and hard on the body.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. So that's definitely a stringent thing. One of those conflicts you'll find, and I think that was an issue that I always would bring up as well when people would everything's kind of, it's not as, I don't hear it as loud as I did a couple months ago, but especially when you hear people saying defunding law enforcement, which I'd always laugh at because, you take away more resources than it's just kind of like, it's just kind of just stupid. It's just kind of kills me.
Kind of mad at me.
Yeah. So it's,
can we take a quick break? They used to call me, my old unit, they used to call me a Peabody because I just every 5 minutes I'd have this great deal.
You're good, man. You're good. Do you think?
Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
You're good, man. And we're back. Okay. So like we were talking about, just a lack of funding and some of the criticisms that law enforcement sometimes unjustly receives. Regardless of that, though, so discussion with firearms instruction is, when you have a certain limited budget, especially with law enforcement, as you're saying, so you deal with mostly law enforcement and firearm instruction primarily right now?
Mostly law enforcement and executive protection. So I train our team of executive protection officers quite often. Like we're at the range at least 1 to 2 times a week.
Okay, wow.
Just with them. So I deal with a lot of conceal carry stuff that isn't law enforcement quite often.
Okay, very cool. So one thing that I feel like a lot of people kind of lose the focus of is kind of realistic scenarios of when concealed weapons, you would end up having to draw and utilize your concealed weapon. What would you say is the area that happens? Just out of curiosity, is it like a immediate like 6 to 10 feet, or can it be farther away? I mean, obviously anything can happen, but in your experience, what do you normally see, or what do you train for?
So if you actually look statistically, most shootings on duty occur between bad breath distance and typically, 7 to 10 feet, or yards? I know that's a big difference, but I think it's feet.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's feet, if I can remember correctly.
I think it's feet. So it's pretty close in close proximity, and honestly, most people, if you ask them, they don't even use their sights. They kind of point shoot. That's one of the things that I'm not saying don't use your sights, but I'm saying that realistically,
split second,
you have to make split second decisions when it comes to shit like that. I train in a vast variety of different scenarios or things when I'm training with our EP team. Most of it is, like I said, in a discreet manner. So your gun is not even exposed. Nobody knows, or nobody should know, that you're armed besides your team and your clients. Sorry, can you recap the question one more time?
Yeah, so I think you answered it, though. It was just more or less general circumstances, when you do encounter a conflict that requires a concealed weapons permit. Generally, it's basically within 10 feet, like you said, within breathing distance, and then all the way up until 7 to 10 feet. So it's all close quarters. I was just going to lead on to the fact that it seems like sometimes people underestimate how close these situations are. But
not just that, but and I'm not saying don't train any kind of long distance shooting. What I am advocating, though, is having to use your firearm should always be the last resort.
Correct.
That's your absolute last resort. If that gun is coming out, it's not to flaunt it. Brandish. It's not to scare someone. It's because you have to fucking use it.
Right.
It's the only time your handgun should come out. It should not be used as a amplifier of some sort. It shouldn't be used as a deterrent. Your gun, you don't bring your gun out, and that's brandishing at that point. Yeah. You're breaking the law.
Yep.
You're breaking the law. That is considered brandishing. And some people don't understand that. They don't grasp that. They don't understand the mindset behind and the psyche behind what constitutes actually shooting, I guess. They just have to draw the weapon and they have to shoot. That's what they train for at the range. And that's fine and dandy. Training fundamentals is definitely a must. I don't want somebody next to me that's fundamentally unsound shooting next to me. However, I think training the psyche or the mindset behind actually why do you carry and why it is that you're going to maybe do what the next step is going to be. A lot of that doesn't ever get talked about. And if it does, it gets talked about at a higher level, I guess, above what I do, what I teach. Is having the mindset to do all that, I think it comes with a lot of experience and being put in situations. You can't read it out of a book and teach mindset. It's really difficult to teach mindset out of a book.
Yeah, and I agree with you too. And I've heard people say stuff before that, you're just kind of like, all right, man, that's not what the concealed weapons permit's for. It's like the same thing. I think you hit the nail on the head right there. Like that's something I hear very, very often. That's not how that works. Like you said, the brandishing part, and I've had to remind people that like, hey, if you're pulling it, that means it's your last resort. You can't get out. You can't just diffuse, and you can't be the dude talking shit either. And, basically escalating into something, and or if you're getting your ass kicked, if you got in a fight, you can't use that as well. So that was something that I remember very.
I mean, honestly, the best fight is the one you never have to get into.
Yep.
I mean, if you could walk away from a situation, and I'm telling you this from experience, and I'm telling you this from what I've seen, your heart and your mind could be in the right place. And if you had an opportunity to either de-escalate or get out of Dodge, but you decided to take your gun out and actually shoot, you could actually get into trouble.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
You could do time in prison.
Yeah.
For getting into a shooting, they're going to ask. Law enforcement officers are going to ask, or whoever it is that's in charge is going to ask, did you have an opportunity to escape, evade, or whatever it is to de-escalate the situation? I'm not saying don't stand your ground. I'm not saying if the time comes and you have to actually do work, not to do work. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you have an opportunity to beat feet, and fucking beat feet if you have to, man. I mean, it's hard to kind of teach this.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And again, like you said, I think a lot of people don't understand the stress levels too. That because like you said, everything happens so quickly too. It's all split second. But without getting too far into that, so that's all. I think something like, especially on the course side, except for on a professional side, I think that's something that's very interesting, and I think that's something that needs to be discussed, instructed more. Like I think that's a very good point, and lots of good high points to focus on. I think there should be more courses that kind of cover that, because that's most likely the scenario that you will encounter to start off with. But additionally, so how did you? I know you said so. Like you said, you were getting into law enforcement, and you started kind of like the training was poor, and you want to go out of your own element and start finding stuff. So when did you actually start doing training and stuff like that? When did that something that you really wanted to get involved in?
It started with other like-minded officers that just wanted to go out and train. They're like, hey, you want to go out this weekend to the range or to the desert, BML land, and just fucking pop some rounds off? Yeah, sure, let's do it. And started that way. And then it slowly started progressing into, well, what can we do next? Or how can we make this not just about fun? Because a lot of those range days with the boys were just, it was entertainment. That's what it was. It wasn't training. It wasn't somebody going in with a plan. Nobody had an outline. Nobody had a syllabus. Nobody came in with, okay, guys, let's do a safety brief real quick. Hey, who's lead fucking medic? Who's secondary? Who knows the choke points to get out of here? Who knows, first aid? Who knows this? Who knows that? Okay, what's our fucking first drill going to be? Are we going to time it? Nobody had it structured.
Right.
All started with, let's just go and blast watermelons and pumpkins and TVs that were out there, and to me that didn't translate to training. That was just entertainment. And I learned this from a company out in Nevada. Are you shooting for entertainment? Or are you getting actual good reps in training? Now, you could turn training into an entertaining time, but your training shouldn't be entertainment. There's a difference between entertaining and entertainment. You're out there solely just to have fun and to blast away. You're honestly, I mean, it's to me, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of ammo. I'm not getting it's money, especially nowadays. So for me, I'm not getting anything out of it. It's not fulfilling. Yeah. So that's where it started evolving. Is I kept going out with friends, and it was never structured, and it was almost sometimes unsafe.
Yeah.
And I just said, I don't. There's something more that I could do with this. So I started looking online on who's credible instructors, and that's one thing I tell a lot of people, because I get hit up a lot via DM is, hey, who should I train with, or where should I spend my money? Should I buy this Gucci this? Should I buy this Gucci that? And that your instructors is one of the biggest thing I tell people is find out what they teach, talk to people that have trained with them, look at their videos, see if they have a YouTube, see if they're just talking out of their ass, see if they're regurgitating shit out of a book, or actually
Applying.
maybe even attend one of their courses and go in with an open mind and find out what they're all about. But vetting your instructors is a big thing. It's a big thing for me.
Yeah. So with that kind of process, like you said, you get going through all the resources and checking them out and just kind of seeing what they're about as well. What's, for those who may not know, what's like the average cost of a course for, Joe Blow, our first, 101, whatever class, kind of instruction course it could be.
Okay. So I kind of like to look at it this way. What's your favorite brand of shoes?
So right now, if it's like every day, I'd probably say Solomon's have been really killing it for me.
Solomon's. What's another similar pair of a different brand that's on par with Solomon's? So Merrell's.
Yeah, we say Merrell's.
Maybe.
Sure.
Okay. So it's like comparing Solomon's to Merrell's. Like one of them might cost more than the other, but they're both giving you solid work, right? Sometimes you're paying extra for the name.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm not going to name instructors. I'm not going to say any, but you might be paying more money for an instructor that has a really big reputation. The Nikes of the instructional world, right? Then there's the Adidas or the Reeboks. They offer the same level of support or very similar.
Maybe not
but they're not the big name.
Yeah.
Not the big name. And you still get solid reps off of those people. I've gone to courses where it cost me $200, $250 for a full day's, 6 to 8 hour day. And I learned a lot from them. I've gone to other training courses where they were $600 to $700 for 2 days. And it was all about them. It was all about war stories. And it was all about, back in my day, I used to do this. And let me do this drill before you do it. And then they show off and they keep showing off. So it's like,
yeah, what am I learning? What am I obtaining?
What are you obtaining? So what's your end goal? Are you there to be starstruck by somebody? Or are you there to learn? But then again, there's courses that I've attended that are legit $700-800 a day courses. And I was just mind blown by the information they gave me. So again, this comes down to vetting your instructors, vetting your companies, looking at their reviews, talking to people that actually attended their courses, and maybe taking that leap of faith and saying, you know what, I'm going to save that $600 for that 2-day course, taking the course, and you might come out going, this is the best thing since sliced bread, or you might leave going, this guy was a fucking buffoon.
Yeah, and I think especially now, like with social media and all the different outlets that people can have too, and I think you see a lot of that now too. And yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest, I haven't taken that many courses, but I can see that sometimes, like what you just said, and then just like you said, dealing with buffoons and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, that's definitely one of those things. Definitely want to vet, just not go to the first guy you see, and just because Joe Bob's been shooting for 20 years doesn't mean he's someone who needs to be instructing. Needs to be more accredited and kind of have, like you said, vet your guy. So with that being said, with you getting into your stuff and how you got into that, so like you said, you kind of got tired of it. And I had the same wall at one point where I almost got just disinterested into firearms entirely because, like you said, going to a range and just plinking is what I basically would refer to it, just shooting just to shoot, but not having like a mindset. You started creating that mindset and moving forward with like more instruction based. Did you have any of the guys that were kind of going out and going shooting with you kind of say the same thing, like, yeah, I'm with you, man? Or like, did they kind of like follow suit, or was it just kind of pretty much you and then you've just kind of broke off from there?
I think it was more like I broke off. I had a passion. So I got to a point where by no means I'm always a student, so I'm always learning from everybody. Any day I'm off the range or I'm not shooting, I'm degressing. I'm getting worse and worse. You're only as good as your last drill that you did, I guess. But I always was a decent person to give instructions. Like I was really good at talking to people. They used to call me LAPD. I used to have a silver tongue. My sergeant used to say. I used to be able to sell ice to an Eskimo man, and I was able to de-escalate a lot of things just by talking to people. I was very approachable.
Yeah.
And that kind of started translating into the firearms portion. I guess I took that leap. I know I said that already, that I took that leap of faith. But I took that leap and I said, let me take an instructor course with X company. Let me take another instructor course with this company. Let me take this. Let me take that. And those companies that I was training with would put you in front of large crowds of people that range from, soft guys all the way down to just straight up civilians, and you had to teach in front of them. So it was make or break, and I started liking it. I started liking the fire that was lit under me, and it grew into something bigger. And I wanted to be able to bring this back to the group that I was part of, or the teams that I were part of, and teach. And it became a passion. And I wanted to break away from just, it's not just about me. I want to pass on the knowledge. And I'm not this wazoo gunfighter, soft unit SF dude, Navy SEAL, SWAT operator. I'm just a dude that has a passion for shooting, that can talk to somebody and see that light bulb moment happen. Yeah. And it's been able to work well that way. And trust me, I've been to courses where the instructor is the best shooter there, but then when they talk, it's like listening to nails on a chalkboard. It's like none of what you just said translates to actual learning how to shoot. And one of the biggest, I guess the easiest example I could give is Ted Williams, baseball, right? Arguably the best hitter in all of baseball, right? All time. I want to say the Boston Red Sox hired him to be the hitting coach once he retired. He was the worst hitting coach ever. Worst hitting coach ever. You know what his advice was? Just hit the fucking ball. Yeah. Just hit it, swing and hit. That's what I would do. I mean, I've seen instructors go, well, I see you're missing. Shoot slower. Shoot slower. Like that doesn't translate into shooting better. Yeah. Or stop doing this. Stop doing what? Just do what I'm doing. What do you mean do what I'm doing? That doesn't translate to teaching, does it?
Yeah.
You're not breaking any kind of mechanic down. You're not seeing what their problem is. You're not asking them the right questions. I've seen that a lot, and I've seen that a lot with amazing performers. But it just doesn't. Being a performer doesn't mean that you're a great instructor. It really doesn't.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And firearms or not, I've seen the same thing, like especially like instructional or like going through stuff or trying to learn a skill or something like that. And I think I learn very visually too, and I like stuff being broken down piece by piece. And then generally, that's how I'm able to kind of like perform or get better or work on what I'm doing incorrectly if I'm doing something incorrectly. So when you say things like that, I think that's 100%. I think you're 100% correct on that. And I think that also would make the experience a lot better too, because obviously if you don't have a good time and then someone's kind of going down on you and saying, hey, just shoot like you said, like shoot like this, blah, 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 then, it's going to be frustrating. It's a frustrating experience, right? If you just can't get through that and process that too. So that's very cool. So when did you start doing that? Like, or let me rephrase that. How long have you been doing this for the firearms instruction portion?
I haven't actually said that I've been instructing till recently.
Okay.
I've never actually told people I'm an instructor.
Officially, yeah.
I like an actual title till recently. However, I have been instructing for many years now. Mm-hmm. only I never offered it to the public, or I never offered it to large units or to, law
Publicly
enforcement
and stuff
officers,
like that. Yeah.
the public, or to random dudes. It was always my team that I was instructing, or I would take lead. Excuse me, the Truly's coming out and burping.
No, you're good too, man.
Or for instance, I would take lead when all the homies would get together, and all the cops or military dudes would get together, and I would take lead and I would instruct. But I never said, "Hey, I'm an instructor."
Right. Okay.
Even though I've taken instructor courses, even though I've been instructing for years, even though I put together, certain course curriculum, and I've set plans for the day, and I ran the range, I never really said I was an instructor. Not until recently, I want to say maybe 2 years now, that I've actually legitly said, "Hey, I am an instructor. I teach." Gotcha. I just don't. I guess I'm not open to the public. I don't teach to the public per se. But I've legitly, with a title, I guess, if you want to put a title on it,
sure,
maybe 2 years. But I've been teaching for many years now.
Gotcha. So I know with like certain agencies and certain departments, they'll have like a training staff, or I think it just depends on the actual agency and stuff like that. Were you a part of like that training staff at all, like during this time, or was it just more or less, bettering yourself, and then anyone who was willing to join you and like join this curriculum, or was it one of those things?
So, have you ever heard of the term gatekeepers?
Yeah. Yes, unfortunately.
So, law enforcement has a notorious, how do you say without pissing anybody off, track record of having gatekeepers when it comes to instructors or units or whatnot.
Sure.
It's always, "This is how we've always done it," or "I'm the lead guy, so you will do as I say." And it's always been indoctrinated, I guess, like indoctrinated training. There wasn't progressive thinkers in most law enforcement agencies. There's quite a few, and it's been changing. I've noticed over the last few years, with fresher blood coming in, or with people just opening up their minds, or with just incidents happening where they go, "Wow, what we're teaching is getting cops killed. Mm-hmm. So we need to fucking rethink box and open up this box." So there's, especially with larger law enforcement agencies, there still are gatekeepers of training. So I guess that was a long-winded answer. Sure. No, I was not part of any training cadre for law enforcement, because it's typically you have to be tenured. Typically, you have to know somebody. Typically, it's one of those, "Hey, do this guy a favor," or somebody's retiring, attrition. Another thing that I've noticed now that I'm working more and more with law enforcement agents on the training side is they stick trouble officers, or officers that are going to retire in the next 2-3 years, into the training side. So they'll stick people that they don't want out in public in patrol time, or they don't want them to have public contact because they're a grumpy cat, or because they just don't work well with the general public, or again, because they're about to retire in the next year or two, and they'll stick them into training division. And those are the people that will teach you how to fucking shoot, or not necessarily teach you, but those are the ones that are going to run the range, for quals or whatnot.
Sure.
And again, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but the difference between training and qualifying, right? Those are two completely different beasts.
So qualifying is actually the portion where you're actually doing, qualifying. It's so one of those, I know there can be
showing proficiency of what you can do.
Right.
So a qualification is you're showing proficiency. To check in the box, you're showing your agency and post, or the state of whatever it is that you patrol in, that you are proficient with said firearm, right? And then there's training. And unfortunately, law enforcement does not train a lot.
Yeah.
They don't. They qualify, they don't train. And if they do train, it's training that's catered towards the qualification to get people through. Lowest common denominator type shit. Only real training that you will see in law enforcement is typically specialized units. Specialized units, SWAT, SRT guys or gals, certain detective bureaus that work, the SIS division, the fugitive task forces, shit that deal with, doing search warrants and working with fucking assholes. So your typical patrol officer won't get a lot of training throughout the year. They'll qualify. And if they're lucky, like I was in my early days in LAPD, you'll qualify once a month. And then you get some agencies that qualify once a quarter. And then you get agencies that qualify once a year. There's officers that go one full year without ever firing their fucking handgun, but they're out on patrol every day with a loaded fucking firearm. And again, keep saying this, it's not the officer's fault, it is the agency's fault. It is the agency's fault for doing this. Just know the difference between what qualifying is and what training is. And kind of went on a tandem there because it's something that really I'm passionate about.
No, sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes it's just one of those things where maybe it's just maybe I think I know what it is, but sometimes just clarification too. So I'd rather not make an ass myself either. So that's always fun. But so moving on with that. So, you go to these courses and stuff like that, but you do them for 2 years. And I guess one big thing with this year, and I was actually signed up for the course and I actually had to cancel it just because of more or less ammo shortage, just based on the amount of ammo I was going to have to bring, go through stuff, with COVID, that's definitely put a wrinkle, in excessive cost now as well. Have you found it this past year on the instruction portion, being more difficult, or maybe some agencies not being able to, because of the new excess cost of ammunition? I mean, I know some have contracts, with whatever distributor and except for like that, so it's a set price already. But sometimes, the ammo is just, the shortage is pretty detrimental, especially if it's someone taking their own time and their own money to take a course. Has that been an issue recently that you've witnessed this past year? If that makes sense.
It does make sense. I'm trying to formulate an answer for this. So, the firearms training world, I don't think I've seen training drop. I've actually seen it go up, meaning the amount of people that want to go train.
Yeah.
Gun sales have gone up. We've seen that. Ammo sales has gone up both in price and in, the limit or the quantity that's available. But if one common thing that I've noticed is ammo is always sold out. So that means someone's buying ammo. And training courses, I want to say that everywhere that they're based off of people that I know or people that own training companies or courses that I've attended, they've always been booked and sold out. This year, everything's been booked or sold out. I think I've yet to see a course that has not sold out or has been at least pretty full. Again, most of the courses that I've been taking this year have been tailored to law enforcement.
Sure.
And I've noticed that the agencies will still send the officers that need to go to these courses. They'll still send them. Most of the courses that I've been to that are catered towards law enforcement have capped out at anywhere between 20 and 30 officers that attend, and it's always been packed, and the agencies always have ammo for them.
Gotcha.
On the private side, people that typically hit me up for training have the money to buy the ammo.
Gotcha.
So they're set. And on the even more and more on the private side, the team that I train, we have ammo to shoot. Give me a sec. There's a plane flying over.
No, that's good, man. Yeah.
Give me a sec. The client that we work for actually advocates for us to train and train often.
So they're going to break the bank to make sure you guys have what you need.
Break the bank is loosely used. I would say, as long as I'm not frugal with the money when it
Sure.
comes to training. If I could justify it and I could show where the money went, then they usually don't have an issue with it.
Gotcha. Have you noticed working with like certain distributors, the price has gone up significantly too? I mean, like it's
Ridiculous.
yeah.
Ridiculous. So I used to last year. I'd be able to buy, I don't know, 1,000 rounds of 5.56 for $300 maybe.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
275. I bought 1,000 rounds of 5.56 the other day for $850.
Oh man, dude.
1,000 rounds. That's almost 85 cents per round. 9 mil is not that far behind. I want to say 1,000 rounds was close to 65 to 70 cents a round.
Yeah.
9 mil. Man. And I've actually asked the distributors, the ones that I typically work with here local, and their cost for their ammo is not that far behind.
Yeah, no,
they're getting gouged too. They're getting gouged by the other people.
Yep.
So their markups are not that much. Their markups are just enough for them to make a profit, from what I've seen. And I've seen the paperwork. And it's components that are lacking, primers and brass and whatnot. But I also do know, and this is word that I've gotten from people that I trust, that the government is also hoarding ammunition on epic levels. So I know this is not new. This has been happening for quite some time. But they're not helping the price. They're not helping the price.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff like that. You start hearing about stuff like that. I've heard the same thing. Obviously, you have some people who will put their tinfoil hat on and say there's some conspiracy, but at the same time, this is the first time they've done it. It's like the thing was like in 2012 or whatever, when it was like the talks of like the Postal Service's funding, was using the money to buy ammo. That was time ago. I remember hearing about that a long time ago. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, same thing on pricing. I think it was funny because I lucked out, and I try to keep at least a couple thousand set aside. Nice catch. But February, I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and restock a little bit, keep shooting, and then come maybe May or June. Hopefully things have calmed down a little bit. I'll restock again before the election. Ammo never stopped, never went down. So yeah, luckily the stuff that I did buy and the stuff that I had before that kind of held me over, and I've kind of slowed down the amount of shooting, but I kept shooting. But I think that was like $329 for 62 grain 5.56, and then it's like people like are baffled at the thought of, especially a lot of new shooters, like 9 mil 124 was like, for me, I was getting it for like $8.99 for 50 rounds, give or take, and then buying it in bulk and like for 1,000 and stuff like that, and it's crazy.
And that's just training ball ammo.
Yep.
When you start buying, because I have to buy in bulk for our EP team, the hollow point stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we're talking $1 a round type shit, if it's even in stock.
Yeah.
The shotgun rounds too, where the other cartridges were, for a while, they were gone everywhere.
Yeah.
You could not find buck. You could not find slug. You couldn't find any of the defensive ammo. It was all birdshot or just the really low non-defensive cartridge rounds. That was out the roof as well in price. It was ridiculous. They've slowly have trickled in ammo again, and ammo is available from what I noticed, but it's just really expensive now.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like on the different distributors. And then of course there'll always be someone who is going to price gouge at some point. But like you said, their distributors are not getting it for much cheaper. And unfortunately, like you said, they had to make a profit. So it's just the nature of the beast on terms like that. So with that being said, something that I wanted to lead into on that was obviously when you're training and there's a limit or supply, especially for someone who's more price conscious on, how much they're spending on ammo, what are some good ways for people to more or less train on a limited ammo basis? Slowing your reps down. Obviously not just burning through ammo prior to maybe like a year ago when you have, like we saw, 1,000 rounds of 5.56s for $300, where now, it's over double that cost. What are some good, training, or like, what's good things to focus on first? Or that you
I think the number one thing is what is your objective? That's the first thing you want to look at. What is your objective? Are you, is your training based off of tactics? Is your training based off of team communication? Are you, you're working on fundamentals only? You can't go wrong with high manipulation, low round count drills. It's really hard to go wrong with that type of training. So, and what I mean by that is drills or items that require you to manipulate the weapon immensely, heavy on the manipulation side, and you only have to fire a handful of rounds, 1 or 2 rounds at a time, because you're getting a lot of training value off of something that cost you a few rounds, as opposed to, well, this drill is going to be 5 to the head, 7 to the thoracic cavity, and 15 to the pelvic girdle, and you, all you're doing is traversing from up to down. I'm big on high manipulation drills. If I am ammo conscious, I guess. My light just went off. I am ammo conscious. So you can't go wrong with training fundamentals. If all you could afford is a handful of rounds, just train the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Sight management, trigger management. And when I say sight management, I mean sight picture, sight alignment. I kind of combine the two based off of a training company that I train with in Nevada, Progressive Force Concepts. Trigger management, how are you manipulating that trigger? Everything else is kind of, and follow through, everything else is kind of just a supplementary fundamental that you add on top of those 3 basic fundamentals. So if you really are conscious with ammo and you have a very low ammo budget for that week, that month, or whatever it is, you could legitimately bring a box of 50 rounds and get a lot of training value off of 50 rounds. I could legitimately bring a box of 50 rounds and it'll take me 30 minutes to 45 minutes to go through the box, because I'm just hyper focusing on just like 1 or 2 things that I'm doing.
Sure.
Am I pulling that trigger perfectly straight to the rear? Are my sights aligned perfectly? Do I have good sight picture? You can do all that with just a handful of rounds.
Very good stuff. And I think that's really good advice as well, so that people don't think they have to burn through all their ammo stash just to get a good training rep or any kind of session in. So as well as that, I think like you mentioned before, with like training from concealed weapons and, different setups and stuff like that. What would you say is a good setup for someone maybe like getting off and getting started, maybe just trying to get in, like, I guess you're a novice shooter who wants to go in, get those type of reps in. So, we'll start off with, we'll just say a Glock 19, but, like obviously a good solid belt, good holster, what are some good training fundamentals or training gear to have when you go to the range?
Let me answer your question with a question.
Sure. I guess it kind of goes back to what you said earlier, what you're training for.
Shooting is shooting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Shooting is shooting. Fundamentals are fundamentals. What changes between having your gun in an overt fashion, meaning a battle belt or duty belt or whatnot, or having it concealed? You tell me, fundamentally wise, what's the difference between those two?
So,
just in the shooting portion.
So the shooting portion would be exactly the same, because you're still manipulating the firearm the same way. Yeah.
Still manipulating the firearm the same way. So let me tell you this. What is your objective? Are you trying to train concealed, and what is it that you're trying to do? So are you carrying appendix? Are you carrying 3 o'clock? Are you carrying 9 o'clock for you wrong-handed shooters?
Mm-hmm.
You could get good training value at home with a dry gun, practicing drawing, practicing defeating the garment, practicing shooting left or manipulating the gun left-handed, manipulating the gun right-handed. You could, because nothing really changes fundamentally wise. Shooting is shooting. Shooting is shooting. However, if you want to get into, let's say, concealed carry, then you don't have to spend a damn dime on ammo, and you could still get those good dry reps at home, practicing how to draw the weapon from concealed, from appendix. You could practice how to do it from the 3 o'clock, from the 9 o'clock. You could practice how to do mag exchanges or deliberate reloads with dry mags. So I guess for your novice shooter, is I would have to answer the question by asking them a question: is what is your mission? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to just carry concealed? Are you trying to run with a duty belt? And I mean, I need more context if I were to answer that question, because at the end of the day, fundamental shooting is fundamental shooting. I mean, you could go to a range, go to an indoor range, and 99% of ranges will not let you carry on a belt or on a holster. They're going to have you throw the fucking gun on the counter. You're going to have to pick up the gun, and you're going to have to fire 1 or 2 rounds every second, right?
Right.
You could still get good training value out of that, but you're not getting everything else. You're not getting the draw stroke. You're not getting the presentation. You're not getting the tactics. That's stuff that you have to take and practice elsewhere. So you could practice that shit at home. You could practice how to pie a door, how to enter a room, how to work in the dark, how to manipulate, your handheld flashlight, how to do all that shit. You could do that at home. You don't need a range or live ammo to do all that stuff. So that's kind of the long-winded version, but I need more context to be able to
and that's fair.
Truly.
Yeah. And that, like you said, that was kind of an open-ended question. And the more I think about it, I was just trying to, I guess, relay, because I think what you just said is a perfect example of another way you can train without having to go through ammo, especially when the costs are high and stuff like that. And so that way you're not having to, you can break down those things and practice different things at different times and not have to even use ammo. Like you said, you can do all that stuff dry and do that stuff at home. So very cool. And I've noticed that a lot of people seem to have, I'm not sure, I guess it wasn't something I was interested in, but I know a lot of people have started resorting to, some people have used airsoft stuff, I guess, as a manipulation as well. But I think, like you said already, you can do a lot of that stuff with just a box of ammo at a range with fundamentals. But on top of that, you can do a lot of that dry as well at home. So kind of like, I guess, whatever suits your fancy, if, objective wise, that's kind of what you're meeting, right?
The only thing that you cannot legitimately practice at home is, the reciprocation of the actual slide.
Yeah.
And the recoil management are 2 of the things that you really can't practice. Follow through might be another one that you can't really practice completely, because you have to break your master grip in order to cycle the gun again, in order to, to perform the full action again. But you could still get some decent, money is really an issue. You could still get really decent manipulation practice at home, completely dry.
Good stuff, man. So with, and I'll touch base later on how people can, because I do have a lot of people who are in law enforcement who are always open, looking for, those avenues and stuff like that. So I'll add that on later, just, how to connect with you or touch base with you. But let's talk about TripleFeed a little bit. Because, so TripleFeed is really cool. But before I do completely start on that, just to bring up, I think the one thing about your firearm, whether instruction or wise or just your Instagram in general, is how you pretty much present it in a much, I don't know, outgoing way, I guess is the way of saying it. Like, it's definitely a lot more, I'd just say outgoing. It's not super serious, even if you are in a good training session and it is serious, but you're having fun with it, even though you are training. So I think that's something that I noticed that really, really piqued my interest, and I thought was a really good highlight. So with TripleFeed, and that's why I was going to lead into this, is obviously it does have a little bit of that media portion of it and media production, and does a great job at it too. Looks wise, it's very professionally done, and it's very, eye catching as well. So I think that is a good portion. I guess this is just me commenting on it. It's just, it's a good avenue to invite new shooters or maybe open the door for people who would be interested in shooting, especially the next generation.
I agree. So my philosophy when it comes to training is just do you, man.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to be a super cop, robot, Rambo, type shooter in order to participate in training. There's a lot of, and this will tie into the whole TripleFeed thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, one of the things I've noticed in the firearms business or in training in general is there's a lot of cliques.
Yeah.
If you're not law enforcement, then you can't train with us. Or if you're not SWAT, you can't train with us. Or, oh, you're not a SWAT operator? Fuck you, you're a nerd. Get out of here. You can't beat feet. You can't train with us. And then there's dudes that just want, or gals and dudes that just want to train. They're like, well, where the fuck do I go? Where do I sit in all this? You kind of hit it well when you said you do take it serious, but at the same time, you're kind of laid back about it. Way I dress, the way I do things, the way I present myself, that's how I am all the fucking time. Mm-hmm. It's me at the range. It's not, I don't change my attitude because I have a rifle in my fucking hand now. I don't change my attitude because I'm wearing a plate carrier. I don't change my mind because I'm concealed now, or I am always the same fucking dude. It's always me. And the way I dress or the way I do things, the way I present myself, the way I talk to people is always going to be the same. I treat the janitor the same way as I treat, the chief of police when I'm training them. That's how I am. And that's one of the things that I've noticed was lacking, I guess, in this world. And I like to do me. And it's not about me though. It's not about me. It's just me being me. Yeah. And if people want to be part of it, or if they want to be cool, then yeah, we could all be friends, man. I have no hate towards anybody, man. I don't think I'm better than anybody. And at the same time, I totally understand when people are better than me. I don't have an ego, and I try to stay as humble as I possibly can. At the same time, just having fun with it.
Right.
I think I went on a tandem there.
No, you're good, man. And I think, like you just said, but I think that's a refreshing way to look at it too, especially like you said in the firearm industry. So like one thing I've discussed with several people, and it's how I always end a podcast as well, is sometimes people get so wrapped up in firearms that they forget there's other hobbies they can enjoy as well. They just get so just enthralled, and it's like there's nothing outside of this industry, this firearm, like that's it, there's nothing outside. And like you can enjoy yourself, you can do other stuff, you don't have to be just 100% gun guy all the time. So, and I think that's a lot of what I enjoy. So like I said, you have fun with it, like you said, and you brought up the clothing options and stuff like that. You just wear what you want, what you'd rather regularly wear. And I think that's a really good approach, like especially nowadays. And I think that invites people who are maybe new shooters to would want to go and say, that looks fun, or that's something I would want to try, because then it doesn't look, in my opinion, it doesn't look as intimidating from the outside looking in when you look like you are like your team, your SWAT team, etc., SOF, whatever, and you guys are completely kitted out. Now, wow, those guys may be awesome dudes and they're the most friendly opening guys ever, but from an outside opinion, it could look a little intimidating and maybe like, ooh, I don't know if that's something I want to get involved in, or, maybe, maybe I wouldn't be invited into this kind of group because they're completely geared out and stuff like that. So I think that's a really cool thing on the TripleFeed option. So obviously guys offer all kinds of merch. So tell me more about TripleFeed. So when did TripleFeed start before I go on a tangent and go on a little tandem and go on stuff? So what's a TripleFeed?
So
and what all you guys do?
We stand behind the whole, we're an eclectic group of dudes. So there's 3 of us that own TripleFeed.
Gotcha.
Split evenly between all 3 of us. So there's B-Dub. B-Dub is CCT guy in the Air Force, so a combat controller. So he's a soft guy. So he has a lot of combat operational experience. Has deployed many times in his career. Was active duty, now is Air National Guard. But the guy knows his shit. Like, this guy's fucking smart. He's a straight. I I call him an operator, and he's like, fuck that shit. No, I'm just a fucking dude. But he's that humble, silent operator dude that doesn't talk much about his shit unless he really has to. He's also an instructor. He brings a lot of the military combat operational portion to TripleFeed. And then there's Luis. Luis is never served in the military, never served in law enforcement, but he is one of the best shooters I've ever met. He remember I'm talking about an eclectic group of guys.
Triumvirate, yeah.
What he does do is he is an executive protection officer, so he does a lot of EP. He's an instructor as well, and the guy can fucking shoot. Super intelligent dude, a nerd when it comes to tech, when it comes to cameras, when it comes to photography, videography. He is basically the head of all media for TripleFeed. He knows his shit. Really, really smart dude. And again, he could shoot the fucking the wings off a fly type shit. And he's a really, really good instructor. So he brings a lot of the civilian executive protection side into TripleFeed. And then there's my dumbass. So I've done a little bit of everything. I've done the military side. Again, was a pogue. But I know a lot of dudes in the military, and I knew a lot of guys, and I could relate to certain things. I did contracting work overseas as a civilian contractor. So I have that contracting side on me too. A lot of executive protection. That's my bread and butter. And law enforcement is what I also bring to the table. So again, it's combined effort of three dudes with completely different walks of life, but at the same time, we have the same end goal. Yeah.
That's really
the same passion and the same end goal and mindset. We all think alike, and that, to me, that's the one thing that is lacking. Is everybody can get along, everybody can wear a kit if they want to, everybody could be a regular civilian if they want to, but at the same time, everybody needs to fucking respect each other. Yeah. And that's kind of what we kind of bring. It's a group of dudes that have done things and continue to do things.
Very cool. So, and like you brought it up, that's like almost like the key word for like a key description of like basically a triumvirate. You guys literally come from three different backgrounds, but you kind of form one. So you guys all have different experiences, and so that's a really interesting. It's also unique because I don't think you see many groups like that either. It's generally always very lopsided one way or the other, so there's never but specifically there's never normally a civilian, which I thought was really very interesting. So that's a really cool way of developing this. And of course, like you said, the shared mission. So you guys have the media production, but you also guys have some cool shirts, patches, stickers, all kinds of stuff. So what all do you guys offer with TripleFeed?
So from a business standpoint, our number one thing is media production. It really is.
Gotcha.
So the three of us collectively have a decent eye when it comes to photography, editing, videography. We have the equipment to be able to do it. We run Sonys, and we also run Canons. We're in the market for buying a red camera. Don't tell Luis because he's going to freak out because that's what he really, really wants. So we're gonna buy a red camera real soon. But we do a lot of media production for different companies, predominantly companies in the 2A industry. But we're not limited to that. We've done photo shoots and video shoots for construction companies. We've done photo shoots and video shoots for companies that put together events, like event coordinators and shit like that. We've done shit for hotels. But the fun things that we like to do are stuff for the 2A companies because we get to shoot their guns, we get to run their gear, we get to run around in the dirt and the mud and the water and demo their stuff and show it off, and at the same time bring a cool eye and perspective from the media production side. And then we give them the media, and well, they fucking pay us for it.
Yeah.
So that is our big bread and butter is the media production side.
Gotcha.
Everything else that we do with TripleFeed is kind of
cherries on the top. Yeah.
Fun, I guess. Yeah. So like the shirts, for instance, a few weeks ago or a few months ago, we dropped the Lucha series shirts. We've only dropped one out of the 4 limited edition ones, only because we're not really in a hurry to do it, to drop the rest. We've sold quite a few patches and stickers. If we get a cool or fun idea, we get one of our cool friend artists to put it together, and then we'll either create stickers or patches based off of the designs. They typically sell out, or we'll keep them in inventory or in stock. We'll buy some inventory or overhead and just keep it in stock. Our kind of our baby that we're working with right now is the DSM pouch. Okay. That's kind of something that we're really holding really dear to us, because we've been talking about doing soft goods. We have some ideas in the works right now, but the DSM was the biggest one that we wanted to showcase. For those of you that have seen me shooting or have seen photos of me shooting or videos, particularly in kit or when I'm shooting carbine, you'll see a horizontal pouch on my chest typically. And originally the idea was based off of something that Luis put together, or he had talked about, but it was the original concept was just a Velcro backed pouch that was canted either horizontal or just slightly down or slightly up, depending on what the end user wanted. It was a simple thing. It was just Velcro. Problem was it was falling off quite often, especially if you shoot as often as I do, and if you get into weird positions as I do. So Luis and the rest of us got together and we said, we need to find a solution for this, particularly for people that run certain kits, certain chest rigs, like the Spiritus rig or the Haley micro rig, the Tracer tactical chest rig as well, and just plate carriers in general, anything that's Molly based. So we kind of came up with this.
Nope, I think I lost you for a second. There we go.
Okay, where did I leave off?
You were just talking about how you were basically making it for any kind of plate carrier, basically anything that.
So we got together. This is like a project we've been working on or talking about for over 2 years.
Sure.
And we finally got together with Aaron from Tracer Tactical, and we told him, Tracer Tactical, Aaron, he's a friend of mine for quite some time. He's local to me, actually. And I hit him up and I said, look, man, we want to turn this into a thing. I need your help, because I don't know how to cut and sew nylon gear and soft goods. I don't have experience with that, and you do. Can you help us out? And went over to his house, and first night we met in person, he knocked out like 2 versions for me in a matter of like 4 hours. And those were the concept versions, and showed them to Luis and B-Dub, and they loved it. And slowly we've been progressively TNing a lot of the DSMs in different configurations. And finally we came down to the 3 models that we want to mass produce for people. And they've come out really, really awesome. I just feel that there's some confusion right now in the industry, because people don't understand I'm getting a lot of messages asking me which DSM am I supposed to purchase for the kit that I wear? And, and it's in the description when you go to the website. However, immediately, like they want to know immediately.
Yeah, no, that is satisfaction.
They want immediate satisfaction. So I need to work on kind of showing which pouches belong to which kits. It's something I've been working on for the last few days. And Aaron's been diligently putting together new products for TripleFeed. So we've already pre-ordered, or it's set pre-orders. We should be closing pre-orders in about a week or so.
Okay.
We've gotten a pretty decent amount of people wanting to buy them. And we'll be able to satisfy that first batch of users. However, we're in the process of putting units in very, very capable hands, in people that run gun for a living. Like this is their job. They're either SWAT guys or they're dudes in specialized units overseas, and we're putting these units in their hands to kind of use them and showcase them and kind of show them off and whatnot. So we anticipate the DSM becoming really popular. It just takes time. Is all it is.
Absolutely. So with DSM, and I'll be honest, I'm not very familiar with it, but I know I can concept what you're talking about, and I probably looked at the pictures, didn't even realize what I was looking at. But for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar with like different plate carriers and like setups and rigs, what is it exactly? Is it just like a general pouch, like a zip pouch on top, or is it an actual like kind of like an adaptable system?
So without giving the ingredients to the secret sauce.
Oh yeah, of course.
So the DSM stands for Directional Swift DSM mag pouch. Gotcha. So there's 3 variations that we have right now. They're configured for either left-handed shooters or right-handed shooters. So being a right-handed shooter, it's configured so that the mag pouch is angled at a leftwards direction, so you can reload with your left hand, and the opposite if you're a left-handed shooter. So there's 3 options right now that are, and this is going to be my plug for TripleFeed and the DSM.
Please.
Boom! Here's my plug. The first one is the Molly version. That's the one that we actually have not allowed pre-order sales yet because we were fine tweaking the final product, and we finally are extremely happy with what we have. Mm-hmm. So we're probably going to launch the pre-orders, pre-sales on the Molly version real soon. So basically, the Molly version allows you to configure it on any plate carrier that has Molly already on the place card or the placard or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
On certain chest rigs, for instance, Tracer Tactical, their second version of their kangaroo pouch with actual chassis is going to have laser cut Molly on the front of it, on top of Velcro, and the pouch can interweave with the system already, and it's configured for left or right-handed. That's version number 1. Version number 2 is the DSM flap. The DSM flap works best with the Spiritus chassis. So the chassis system that has the actual Velcro on the front. Mm-hmm. It also works very well with the Tracer Tactical chest rig with the kangaroo pouch. Again, without giving out the secrets, sure. It sandwiches in very well with that particular chest rig configuration. It just sandwiches in. I've tried ripping it off. It's not impossible, but it's very improbable that you getting into the prone position or moving around or bumping it into something will actually detach the magazine from the carrier or the whatever system you're using. In the past, when I did use the Velcro only mag pouch, if I bumped into it really hard, it would rip off, and it was because it was only attached to Velcro. Yeah. Velcro hook to regular Velcro. This version, the flap version, is sandwiched into the point where you have to purposely try to take it off, take it apart.
Gotcha.
There's just too many anchoring points for this pouch to come undone. It's damn near improbable to rip it off. And then finally, the last one is the DSM Taco. So the DSM Taco at the moment only works with the Haley Strategic Micro chest rig.
Gotcha.
So one of the biggest gripes I had, and I own the micro rig, but one of the biggest gripes I had with it is the front of it, the front portion, the admin pouch that's attached to the front has a 2-inch by 4-inch Velcro strip, and it doesn't really allow me to fix anything on it. The other thing is if you needed to put anything on the front of the rig, it's going to be damn near impossible. The other thing too is that admin pouch is designed so that when you open it up, it flaps all the way down, kind of like a table. You could look at everything down inside your admin pouch. That's how Haley and the boys designed that particular pouch. So it was really difficult to mount anything to the front of that pouch without removing some of the features of that particular micro chest rig. So the version that Tracer Tactical and us came up with allows you to fix that directional mag pouch on there and still utilize the full functionality of the rig itself.
Very cool.
So it's really cool. We really like it because now you can actually fix something onto your chest and still use it. And I know Aaron from Tracer just came up with another chest rig version for the Haley that allows you to have Molly on the front now. So that's something that he worked on, and it was kind of born from the DSM needs that we had with TripleFeed and the DSM. So those are the 3 versions. I'm going to be posting on TripleFeed and my personal page probably tomorrow, explaining them a little bit more. But we've had a lot of people confused as to which DSM should they pre-order. They weren't really sure. They didn't want to spend the money and then find out that it was the wrong one. So, and that's totally understandable. But it's coming, guys and gals.
Very cool. Okay. So on top of that, which does it matter? Do you guys have like a limitation on colorways? Like obviously the standards, black, coyote and stuff like that. Any other camo patterns? 5 total?
We're going to have 5 total patterns for the first drop.
Gotcha.
First 5 are going to be Ranger green, coyote tan. We're going to have M81 for all you God's Plaid, woodland people. Multicam black and multicam. So those are what I traditionally see people wanting to buy, accessories or chest rigs or plate carriers. Those 5 colors are the ones that I traditionally see. However, once we start selling a little bit more and more, we start seeing
demand,
the want for the DSM shoot up. We're going to be offering like limited drops in, I don't know, maybe paint splatter, maybe fucking chocolate chip, maybe DNC, maybe some, I don't know, tiger stripe. But you'll be seeing some limited edition runs in certain patterns, very, very small quantities if we do decide to go that route. And then there's also a possibility that we might do custom stuff. If you guys hit up TripleFeed and you say, hey, I want it made out of this material, can you do that? And there's a possibility that we probably could, but that's down the road. We need to first get the word out that these pouches are there and they're ours, and we want to saturate the market with it because we honestly think that it's a great accessory. And I'm not just saying that because it's our product. I'm saying that because it really does work.
Very cool. Very cool. So that's really exciting. And I didn't, I'll be honest, I didn't even really know about that prior. So that's cool to know, and I'll have to check it out myself. So additionally, with like the media production, something that I've seen, especially recently in the past month or so, obviously there's always going to be a big discussion with Instagram and how it distributes information. And, a lot of people upset on, different, whether it be privacy, et cetera, and stuff like, a lot of people were some people said they were going to move to Parler and stuff like that. So on your side, with being a media production team and trying to distribute your product, whether it be you guys making something or you making for someone else that paid you guys, do you see a lot of issues with Instagram? Like, when you're trying to do these, like trying to distribute this media, or like, do you guys run into a lot of blockades or obstacles? If that kind of makes sense.
No, it does make sense. So, I mean, it's not a hidden thing. People know, especially in our industry, that our content is not as readily available or seen as their content. I used to 2 years ago go to the Explorer page on Instagram, and everything gun related was always scrolling. I would catch myself in my own page on the Explorer page from time to time. Instagram would post my video or my photo on the Explorer page. You've obviously seen now that anything 2A or gun related is completely shadow banned now. Or it's banned to the point where they don't showcase it anymore. If you try to promote anything by actually purchasing promotional time, they'll more than likely you're going to get canceled or you're going to get denied the ability to do it. Our company, TripleFeed, we posted our shirt to sell, to promote, and they said that we couldn't promote it because it was gun related, because we were selling guns. We're selling a fucking shirt. It's not a gun.
Yeah. Same thing happened. So same thing happened to me. It was on one of my earlier podcasts. Coincidentally enough, it was with Effective Fitness. It was the only one that the only time I was doing was promoting basically podcast episodes, more or less to distribute them, And this one, of course, firearms were discussed, but the title is Effective Fitness. Has nothing to do with firearms directly. But somehow, some way, I get a message that it's been pulled down. You can review. I was at the time, I was also like completely confused by the process as well. Made no sense whatsoever. Responded, I'm not sure what's been pulled down for. I'm confused. What's the issue? Got the same automated message back. And then I responded back. At this time, I was a little more of a smart ass, of course, because I was frustrated and it was kind of stupid. It was stupid. The whole thing was stupid, regardless. And then after that, they just said, "This is a permanent decision. There's no more. There's no more decisions on this. Consider this final." Is like and I was like, "Oh, okay. So I guess this wasn't automated after all." And then like ever since then, I can't even contact anybody. I can't even like message anyone directly. It's insane.
So yeah, everyone knows that Instagram, that social media is very anti-gun.
Of course.
So anti-gun, yet you'll see half-naked, people on social media posting about X, Y, or Z, and that's totally acceptable. And I find it very
disturbing,
very odd. Freedom of speech on Instagram has died a long time ago. Yeah. It died a long time ago. So we know that anything gun related is limited in traffic.
Sure.
I've noticed just by looking at algorithms and by looking at, you can look at your percentage on who actually views your profiles. And I don't get more than 5 to 10% views. And it's kind of funny, but it's not going to stop me from doing what I'm doing. I still like to share from time to time. We've always known that. And then back to the privacy thing. I know just recently Instagram shared that, I think it was on December 22nd or something like that, that they could look at they could access your photos. They could look at this. They could share whatever they want, et cetera, et cetera. Here's the thing, though, guys. That's always been a thing.
Yeah.
Social media and Instagram has always been able to share or, use your data or do whatever it is that they just made it public for everybody to know. Yeah. So it's already too late for you people that, I'm leaving to somewhere. They already have your shit.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to, if you're really that concerned about your privacy, don't have social media.
Yeah, don't have a phone, a smartphone.
Don't have a phone.
Don't get on the internet. Don't email.
Yeah, don't have anything. Like, just live off the fucking grid if that's really your concern.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand if you don't want to post pictures of your kids. Okay, cool. If you don't want to post pictures of you in uniform, awesome. I totally understand. If you don't want to post, I see a lot of cops that have accounts and they post themselves in uniform and they blur out, what PD they're from. It's easy to fucking find out what agency you're working for. It's really fucking easy. Trust me. If somebody wants to find out, they can find out. They can find out where you live. It's not that difficult. So what you're trying to hide, if you're really trying to hide something, just don't be on social media.
Yeah.
It's that simple. So yeah, it sucks that they finally admit it. But it's not really stopping me from posting anything because I'm not posting anything that's illegal anyways.
Yeah,
I'm not posting anything that's fucking stupid. You're not going to see me doing something that's just ridiculously off the wall. Right. Do I have a Parler account now? Yes, I do. And I use it from time to time. I guess it's a failsafe for me. I'm not creating one of the, Gerry's backup account on Instagram. To me, that's dumb. That's dumb. That's for people that have other kinds of accounts. I'm not going to name them, but I'm not really worried about social media. I mean, it is what it is at this point, and we just have to keep moving forward. Because you complaining, just saying, "Oh, well, they're blocking me." Yeah, they're going to block you.
Yeah,
just the way it is.
Yeah, but like you said, it's nature of the beast.
Shy of us creating our own social media platform, there's really nothing much we can do about tech companies when it comes to.
Yeah, that's just. So obviously, though, Instagram is a very resourceful tool when it comes to distribution as well. Do you find that it's still vital, even though it can be just kind of like an eye-rolling thing about like stuff like that, limitations? But do you find it's very useful for getting your mission across with TripleFeed in general, or even your content?
So I it's a double-edged sword when it comes to social media, sure. When it comes to any of these platforms. So I'm really good friends with Knockout Lights, Mike. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're familiar with that guy. Really awesome dude. Had it not been for social media, never, ever in my life have met the people that I met in my life. Ever. There's no fucking way in hell that I would have met all these people. You and I would not have been talking had it not been for social media. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So social media does bring a lot of people together. It really does. Social media can be used as an amazing tool. It's an amazing tool to bring people together.
Absolutely.
On the flip side of that, social media can be used so against you if it's in the hands of the wrong people.
Yeah.
It can be used as a bullying tool. It could be used to report you about X, Y, and Z. You could get yourself in trouble with social media. And there's a lot of naysayers and people fucking talking shit on social media. However, the way I've learned to do it is I just tune those people out. Negativity just doesn't, I try to not let it exist in my life. I cut out negativity and negative people and people that are just draining from my life a long time ago. And that includes social media. If there are people that are just always negative or always talking shit, then you're not going to find me hanging out with you or being part of you. So, I think it's the same thing as just having a life.
Mm-hmm.
If you involve yourself with the right type of people in life, your normal life, you take that model and do it the same way with social media, then you really don't have too much to worry about. Yeah, we're still gonna have shit talkers. We're gonna have those keyboard warriors talking shit online, but whatever. It's somebody in their basement, anyways. I really don't give a shit.
I think that's a good mantra to have, and it's something that I've kind of tried to take on. I'm trying to remember who mentioned it. It wasn't to me, but it was something I'd heard, and like you just said. But their whole thing was if it was something that you can't control, can't do anything to change, and you've already put your best foot forward and your best product forward, why stress it or just let it just eat you alive? So you just got to keep going, and go to the next obstacle, the next mountain, or the next objective. And so I think what you just said is 100% right. I think people need to stop just letting that stuff get to them, eat them up. Whether it be that, troll account or like you said, that guy, that naysayer, keyboard warrior that I think everyone always sees. There's always one. There's always one. Additionally, just even like anything that entails like with the whole thing with the privacy and Instagram stuff like that, additionally. So I think that's some really good solid advice and good ways and outlook to have. And hopefully people will take up to that. So that's some good stuff.
So it takes effort. It takes conscious effort to get angry with somebody and to try to fight somebody. You could use that same effort and energy into doing positive things for yourself or for others. So why even waste your fucking energy with people like that? There's just to me, it's silly. You're wasting your damn time, and the most precious thing you have in life is fucking time, dude.
Yeah, you're right. Good stuff. I think that's a good way to translate, and we'll go ahead and start getting into our wrap up. But this is always one of my favorite portions as well. Is so when you're not being a badass, doing your gunslinging stuff, protection, law enforcement, TripleFeed, etc. It's kind of hard to believe you have any other time outstanding that. But I do know one thing that I thought was really cool, and I was going to bring it up. Actually, I meant to bring it up already, but I noticed that you involve your son in a lot of the shooting and spot, and you've introduced him to that as well. So that's really cool. But as I was going to try and say was, what's something that you enjoy doing outside of work? Like when you're not doing this, that, TripleFeed, doing your law enforcement duties remaining, what is it that you enjoy doing on your free time?
So I try to, any free time that I do have, especially right now with COVID,
sure.
Knowing that my son doesn't actually have to go to school, physically be there, it's kind of been a blessing in disguise. And I've been able, on any free time that I have, because he could work remotely now with his laptop, I try to spend time with him. So, for instance, I have one day off this week, and I'm going to spend it at the range, but I'm going to spend it teaching him. And then at nighttime, we're going to cook at home. And I'm just going to try to spend as much time as I can with him. So I spend a lot of time with my son. I think the world already knows that. I spend a lot of time with him. And it doesn't even have to revolve around firearms training, law enforcement, military, anything like that. I just legitimately enjoy being around my son. It's fun to raise a kid. It really is. I guess I just got blessed and I have a really good kid, and he's not a little shithead. and he makes it easy to be a parent. He really makes it easy. it's funny just to watch him evolve from what he was when he was a little bean sprout to what he is now. He's a little adult human.
Yeah.
And it's the things that come out of his mouth and the questions he has and his ideas, and I'll just bounce ideas off of him. I'll go, hey, what do you want to do today? He'll throw this thing at me and we'll go and do it. So that's one thing I like to do. I like to spend time with him. Now, there are times where I don't have him or I'm not able to hang around with him for whatever reason. My ex-wife is a big part of my life still. Her and I are very good friends. One would say almost best friends. And that's rare in these days, is to be able to get along with your ex-significant other, or
sure,
what we like to call on the West Coast, your baby mama. So it's hard to, especially like if you're dating, which I'm, but if you're dating, it's hard for that other person to understand that you're still really good friends with the person you were married with, or have a relationship, you used to have a relationship with. It's really hard to understand for some people. I kind of went on another.
No.
But anyway, so I like to go to the gym a lot too. That's one of the things that I take my fitness somewhat serious, I guess.
Sure.
I fell off the train and landed in the gravy not too long ago. So it's been a minute since I've been actively going every other day or every, 3, 4, 5 times a week. Mm-hmm. So I'm getting back into that again. I do like to read from time to time. But if it's not something that I'm really, really into, I have really bad ADHD. So I start to chase butterflies even in my own bedroom.
Yeah.
So I have to find something that I really, really enjoy for me to sit down and read for an hour or two. Fuck. I mean, I love cooking.
There you go. Very cool.
I like to cook. Because of my schedule, it's been very difficult for me to cook lately. But like on my time off, me and my son are going to cook.
Yeah.
My next day off, I stay with my brother. My brother loves to cook too, and him and I will get down. I'm like, what do you want to make today? I don't know. Let's make split pea fucking soup today. All right, cool. Let's make split pea soup, and we make split pea soup. I'm a foodie, so back when the restaurants were open, I used to love going to different restaurants and trying different things. I will try pretty much anything at least once when it comes to food. So I'm not really.
I'll have to ask this because my previous guest hated fish, like 100%, like completely hated fish. But funny enough, his wife would actually kind of like, pick at him and mock him because she's actually a pretty big sushi fan, et cetera. And he lives right in the West Coast. He's not too far from you. So my question for you would be, what is your favorite sushi? Obviously the West Coast sushi is probably upworlds much better than East Coast, obviously just based on, proximity and what you guys are able to get and that actual culture and being able to have that there. So what's your favorite sushi roll?
So believe it or not, it's not even roll. I like sashimi better. Just straight fish.
Yeah.
So I prefer not to have the rolls because they fill me up really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean I won't have a roll on the side. I prefer, if I could pick one plate to eat for the rest of my life, it might be yellowtail sashimi with ponzu sauce, slices of jalapeno, and garlic cloves on top.
Man, that's
just absolutely
specific,
amazing. Oh, dude, it's amazing. I could eat that forever. A very close second is, I want to say it's white tuna.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard.
I think it's white tuna, like the underbelly. The really soft, just buttery flavored white tuna. That's some people call it toro. I think it is. Is it toro?
Yep,
I love it.
Yeah, so I'm close with you too. So I'm not if I do get a sushi roll, it'll just be something basic like a tuna. But I really like nigiri as well. So nigiri, it does still have rice a little bit, but that's normally my go-to. And then sashimi is really good too. But a little dab of low sodium soy sauce and then a little bit of wasabi in it, man. Oh my gosh. So
I actually prefer it with a little bit of soy sauce and ginger. I'm a big ginger guy. I could eat ginger
Straight, yeah.
itself.
You're one of those psychopaths.
I'd be happy.
Straight eats it up.
Oh yeah, I will straight eat up. It's so good.
Very good, man.
So one would think that because I like sushi and I'm Hispanic. My parents were born in Mexico, or like they say in Mexico, and I speak fluent Spanish. Spanish was my first language. I used to go to Tijuana all the time. I have family still in Tijuana. And one would think, well, then you like camarones or you like ceviche. You know, you love Mexican seafood. I do not like Mexican seafood whatsoever. I love Mexican food.
Yeah,
I could eat the shit out of Mexican food. I do not like ceviche, man.
Really?
There's something about Mexican style. They call it Mexican sushi, pretty much. It's because it's a lot of it is raw seafood,
raw tuna, raw seared,
light seared, seared or light seared, or it's cooked in lime juice or lemon juice or whatnot. I cannot stand ceviche. I can't do it. I've tried it, and I'm like, yeah. No. But you give me a raw salmon right in front of me, just sliced perfectly with ponzu. Oh my god, I could eat that forever, man. And then, because you mentioned seafood, I can't eat stinky fish. If it's
I'm
cooked,
right there with you, dude.
Yeah, in a way where I could smell the ocean, I'm like,
yes, and that's
hard pass.
Yeah, that's like I'll tell a funny story and then we'll kind of wrap it up there. But it's I'm trying to remember what it's called. Trying to remember which salmon it is. I can't remember, but it's. Oh man, it's gonna kill me now. It'll come back.
Albacore is really strong. Albacore is really maybe albacore.
Doesn't ring a bell. I know it's been referred to as like a dog salmon because it's generally fed to dogs more so than humans, but it's so pungent. Like we got it one time because it was like it was on sale. Wife brings it home and we start cooking and like the whole house just I'm like, okay, throw that shit out. It's like never get that ever again. Maybe it was sockeye. It might have been sockeye actually, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was sockeye. I don't know, but I thought it was funny. So like you said, certain salmon I can't eat whatsoever just because of it's just such a distinctive, like you said, I don't know, like just taste and flavor and profile.
Yeah.
I can't mess with it. But good stuff, man. Lots of cool info. So you have TripleFeed, you have your stuff. You know, how can they reach you on your Instagram? What is the best, or just meet, get in touch with you in general, whether it's law enforcement trying to reach out or Instagram follow?
Two different ways. You could easily reach me at my personal IG at Gerry with a G, GerryP as in Paul, DKA. That's my personal IG account. However, I do get flooded with a lot of DMs, so just be patient. I always answer. Like 99% of my DMs I answer. It just might be a little later than sooner. Unless you're sending me weird shit, then I'm just not going to answer you. I'm just going to swipe left. I'm sorry. If you're sending me some random meme that I've never talked to you in my life and you're just sending me the weird shit, I'm just not going to answer you. But if you legitimately have a question, or if you legitimately want to talk about something, you have questions about gear. Again, I'm not the most intelligent person when it comes to that. That's not my strongest suit. I'm not a subject matter expert in anything. However, if you do have questions, you want to bounce them off of me, that's one way of getting a hold of me. Again, it's GerryP as in Paul, DKA. The other way is I run the TripleFeed IG account as well. I'm 99% of the time it's me running that account. BW and Luis also run it. However, I'm bigger. I'm the bigger nerd when it comes to social media, so they let me kind of handle that. So equally so, if you send me a message on TripleFeed, I'm more than likely going to be able to answer that one a lot faster because there's only a handful of messages on there. So that would be at triple_feed. That's our business account, IG. And feel free to ask me the same questions on there.
Awesome.
Those are typically the two easy ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. And don't worry, for those who are like me and they hear something and they can't process it, I'll have it attached to the podcast episode on Instagram as well as when it's published to Apple, Spotify, et cetera. You'll be able to reach it there in the description, and I'll have it on the link tree on my Instagram as well. So we'll take care of that. So that way it's easy for you to reach out and find those profiles. And obviously, he's not that hard to find. You'll be able to track it down. So very cool, man. So again, thank you. I want to thank you so much for jumping on, taking time out of your obviously very, very busy day to spend some time, sort through all this stuff, answer some questions, and just kind of give us a little background and information on you. And it's very cool to learn, and then discuss TripleFeed and all other stuff, all that jazz, and then just getting into the mix of it.
Excellent. Pleasure was all mine. Thank you. I appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And that'll be it for this episode. And here we go.